Have you watched this movie? Can I have a raise of hands for the people who have watched this movie? Okay, I'm seeing some people raising their hand. This movie is a famous Hindi movie named Tare Sameeper, and it revolves around a kid who is having hardships learning things. As you can see from the video, he says the letters are dancing. Have you ever wondered why is this happening to him? My dear Toastmasters and guests, the reason for that is this child suffered from a learning disability. What is a learning disability? According to Learning Disability Resource Foundation, it means a mental condition that prevents a person from acquiring the same amount of knowledge as others in their age group. They have listed 5 of these as very common among children. They are namely dyslexia, ADHD, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and dyspraxia. I'm pretty sure some of you have never heard these words. And trust me, it's not even easy to pronounce them. But I've always been curious about these words. In movies, in TV series, or in books, I've always noticed characters saying, I am dyslexic. I have ADHD. What did they say about this character? What did it mean? So I searched around and let me share what I found out. The first is dyslexia, which means a condition that makes it challenging to understand text or speech. As in the background of the slide, a normal person would see letters as on the right, and a person suffering from dyslexia would see letters as seen on the right. The symptoms of this condition are reversing the position of letters, struggling with reading, delayed speech, and also trouble understanding directions. The second is ADHD, and the extension of ADHD is Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. According to the American Psychiatric Association, over 6 million children are diagnosed with ADHD. It affects adults as well. The common symptoms are being disorganized, being forgetful, hard time keeping quiet, and lot of mood swings. Bringing back memories, reading these books, going into the magical world of the Greek gods. Let me have a show of hands of the people who have read these books or even watched the 2 movies. Come on. Okay, I see some numbers. Okay, if you're paying close attention to this, the author mentions that the demigods, the superheroes of this story, are dyslexic or having ADHD. And the reason for this is the author's first son was suffering from these 2 conditions. Through his books, he has made millions of children who are suffering from these conditions feel as if they are heroes as well. Before we move on to the next slide, I have a small math question to all of you. Now don't be scared, it's a small question, and I want you to type in the answer in the chat box as soon as possible. Okay, I'm going to read the other question now. How much change should you get back? Sorry. If you buy 3 dozen pencils at 30 rupees a dozen, how much change would you get back from a 100 rupee note? Oh, nice. We're having some answers. Good. An average 9-year-old is supposed to have 45 seconds to solve this question. But some children take much longer than this to understand this basic math concept. And those children have a probability of suffering from the condition called dyscalculia. It is a learning disability that makes it challenging to understand even the most basic math concepts. And from here on out, I won't be reading of the symptoms because there are a bit of time constraints and they will be on the slide. The next condition is dysgraphia. Basically, it's a learning disability which makes it hard to write. And this condition, I'm kind of worried that I have. This is a photo of my handwriting, and I'm pretty sure everyone here figures out that why I am scared. The last condition is dyspraxia. And it basically affects a person's coordination skills, like balance or even holding on to small objects. I've mentioned 5 conditions, and there are a lot of children out there who suffer from this. Let me show you how common these conditions are. I know everyone here can identify famous characters who are on the slide. And every one of them have at least one of the learning disabilities I have mentioned earlier. If nurtured and cared properly, these children can get better. According to an article on understood.org, 43% of parents say they wouldn't want others to know about their child's disability. 48% of parents believe it is incorrect. They believe incorrectly that their kids would grow out of their learning differences. 76% of college students do not tell their college that they are suffering from a learning disability. And they get frowned upon so much compared to normal children. So keep an eye out. Be open-minded and be kind. And be kind because we don't know what they are going through. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Now, your favorite object could be your mobile phone. Your favorite object could be your laptop these days. Whatever it is, imagine yourself in the shoes of that object and describe your life. Life as my favorite object. You can start.
Okay. I'd like to say a thing first. This is Shazna, okay? So it's both of Shazna and Rizna, so you might get confused. So people who know me know that I'm a avid book reader. So I love books more than anything in this world. And the best thing for me is finishing a good book. And I won't feel like I finished a good book if I didn't have a couple of tears in my eyes. So I think if I can live my life as my favorite object, I would choose a book because I will want someone to read me. And then because of me, if that person could change his or her life and could get that emotion of losing someone who you have not even met, that would be nice. And sometimes reading a good book is like meeting an old friend, and that book will be very hard to forget. So when I was a book, I will know that there is someone who remembers me always, and that it's nice to know that that by reading me, that person could get something new and could change his life. Or more than anything, if I was able to just make him cry, thinking that why did it happen like this? If you have read Nicholas Sparks, you would realize that every time a book when a reader finishes Nicholas Sparks, it's always like, why did it happen?
All right. So, Toastmaster Harish, your speech was basically about leadership skills. So, let me get to your start. I loved how you started, where you were there putting out some act to us which made your speech interesting and which made sure that we know that it's going to be something very different and interesting. So I loved how you started and how you grabbed the attention of the audience at that point itself. And the second point is that I loved in your speech was the body language that you used. You used your hand gestures and the fact that you were acting throughout. You used your personal examples and that you acted it out. And I loved it, how you used your body language, because just without the formal context, you made it sort of different using all these acting parts. And then another thing that I liked was the moral aspect in your speech. Rather than focusing on just leadership, you also focused on moral aspect, because that is also something very important when it comes to leadership. How you said that you made yourself proud and also that you do it with passion. And making yourself proud, it is basically loving yourself, which is something that we all need right now. So you reminded us of that as well. Then another thing that I loved was about how you brought up your personal example, because that is something that is very needed when it comes to a speech to make it more realistic. So your speech was completely realistic because you showed up how you were handling your clients, how you communicated with them. That was really amazing how you used that example into this. And then speaking of the leadership styles, you deviated from your set format and you brought up your own leadership style, saying that you learned. And that's rather than a leadership style, you learn. So that was creative of you at one aspect. So that was also really nice rather than just sticking to the point. And then you used nicely things like a child in a walker, metaphorically how you meant it. So let me get to proofs of improvement. I think the idea wasn't very clear at some point. So that I think you can improve on bringing out the idea properly, maybe arranging your sentence as well. And also the stage usage. If you can really keep your laptop to a laptop or the device a bit far away so that you can use the stage nicely. Like I said, you had some acting parts. So if you can actually incorporate it into your stage usage, I think you can do a brilliant job. And also, I felt like you had less practice where at some points you were wondering what's happening. So I think you can practice more. And the voice tone as well, it was a bit monotonous. So it's nice if you can actually use a voice tone. And overall, I loved your speech. I loved your body language. And I feel like if you can practice more and with your acting parts, if you can actually use the stage and make it more creative, your speech can be very interesting. And finally, I loved how you ended it, because I personally is a huge fan of Marvel. So I think that was a really nice ending to your whole speech. So great job, Harish. I really loved your speech. So please focus on the points of improvement. You can do great next time. Thank you. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.